Good evening and welcome to Resource PNG. Starting tonight, we bring you more interviews and stories from mining, oil and gas stakeholders, landowners, government and non-government agencies, and other business houses. For this particular episode, we have a very important representatives from B-Mobile, Asian Development Bank, His Excellency the Korean Ambassador, and also the PNG High Commissioner to New Delhi, India. We also have World Vision, and we hear about investments made possible by MRDC in Tabubil. Starting tonight's episode, we find out what B-Mobile, as one of 2 GSMA mobile operators in Papua New Guinea, is carrying out telecommunication services. Here is Mr. Alan Berry. Good evening, Alan. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, what immediate challenges do you foresee B-Mobile facing within PNG's as a result of high economic activity within the resource sector?
One of the first things that springs to mind, and thank you very much for inviting me onto the show, by the way, it's a pleasure to be here. One of the first things that springs to mind is retaining good quality staff. We're very fortunate within B-Mobile. We have an absolutely outstanding work base of PNG nationals. The expatriates like myself play a very minor role. There's very few of us, and we rely more and more heavily on our senior management coming from Papua New Guinea, and I think that's very important going forward, because after all, you know, people like myself are just visitors within this country. We're bringing probably knowledge from the wealth of communications, you know, dating back to the early 90s when it first evolved. So we are very much training our staff and effectively moving our senior management to come from PNG. And one of the first things that springs to mind when you ask me that question is that you know, we really don't want to lose those staff. And I can think of a few cases recently where we've got some really good people who have moved on to other technology-based companies that have come into PNG as a result of you know, of the resource sector expanding within PNG. That's a problem, and I think it's something that we're trying to address, and what we're trying to do is effectively put in place training programs, staff retention programs. So it's something that we're tackling internally, which hopefully will prove to be less of an issue going forward.
Well, and how do you see the role of telecommunications sector within the PNG resource sector?
Telecommunications will play a major role. I mean, you know, if you go out throughout the country at the moment, you've got all the mining sites. The towns and cities are expanding all the time. I see that telecommunications, not just voice telephony, but data telephony, wireless, and also satellite telephony, and that data, WiMAX, you could go on with the various different products that we can offer going forward. So I think if we look at B-Mobile as it is today, if we were to then take the clock forward and go 12 months, we'd be looking at a different company. So we've taken the company from where it is now, and we're looking in 12 months' time to be different and to be offering data packages, WiMAX, various other products that we can effectively offer an expanded product portfolio to our customer base.
Well, B-Mobile is known for its technology excellence, for enabling best service delivery. Now, what are your plans on expanding your service area, especially for places that are outside of the major city areas in Papua New Guinea?
Yeah, I don't know if it's well known, but it's certainly public at this stage. We have just secured $40 million worth of funding, which is our first round of funding to expand our network. We are building a further 120 sites. That's a further 120 towers throughout the country. And we've spent the last number of months looking at where we need to put these towers. And it's based on different areas of criteria. We're looking at areas of economic growth. We're looking at areas where the population will benefit from having communications. And that is a national rollout, and that covers the whole country from NCD to Mamasa to the New Guinea Islands, and even out as far as Bougainville. So I can confirm with you that I can't go into the exact precise detail, because obviously certain elements of that is commercially sensitive, but I can tell you in 1 month alone, in a few months, we'll be putting in 24 new towers in one area of the country. We'll be following that up with extensive marketing campaigns, and what we're very much about at B-Mobile is bringing the value proposition to the people of PNG. We like to think of ourselves as the value company. We want to bring good value to the people, so it's effectively making a phone call, accessing the internet, because we will be rolling out with 3G as well.
Okay.
And our new network rollout will consist very much of every site being a 3G site. So it means that we can compete with the other network on 3G basis, and we'll be bringing everything to the people at a good value proposition.
So when do you think this thing will roll out, the plans that you have?
Our rollout starts, again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but all I'll say to people is from the summer of this year, watch this space, and you'll know we're coming. You'll see the billboards going up. You'll see our marketing teams will be coming into the area a few days in advance of when the site goes live. We're going to be very proactive. So the one thing I've learned in my travels around PNG, and I've travelled the world. I've been fortunate enough in my job to work in Africa and Asia, in countries like Afghanistan, even, you know, war-torn environments. But I've travelled extensively throughout PNG over the last number of months, and the one thing that I've certainly been very impressed to see is Papua New Guineans look on B Mobile as their network. They look on B Mobile as being part of PNG, and that's the correct way to look at the company, because we are PNG owned primarily, you know, with IPBC being one of our main shareholders, and 2 or 3 other entities also being Papua New Guinean based organisations. And I'm always pleased to see that even when we've had problems, you know, maybe a network outage or whatever, people want to come back to B Mobile. So I'm very confident that when we roll out with 3G and we roll out these new sites into new towns and villages, that people will be jumping at the opportunity to come onto the B Mobile network.
Well, now what are the new B Mobile value-added services that you believe will be relevant to resource sector clients and impacted communities?
Well, I've mentioned 3G already, 3G very much so. With 3G, that gives us the ability to offer I suppose a higher quality range of handsets. It means we'll be data enabled, so people can access their email, they can get onto the internet. Social networking is a major part of modern society.
It is.
You know, I'm connected to a number of Papua New Guinean friends on Facebook myself, so I know it's very popular here in PNG.
It is, it is.
So all of these aspects will be available to us. And if you look at the B Mobile message out there in the marketplace at the moment, we talk about value. That's what we're about as a company. Well, we'll be offering all these new services with value as well. So I see those 3G as a major player. Also data, you know, with the 3G dongles, so basically people can access the internet through their laptop in the middle of maybe, you know, middle of the New Guinea Islands, maybe sitting by a waterfall. You'll be able to access your email or go on Facebook or communicate with a friend through Skype or whatever that might be. And
tell them what you're doing.
Exactly, yeah, and show them the lovely environment you're fortunate enough to be in, especially if they're back in Europe in the cold. Yeah, 3G, we're looking to roll out with WiMAX, and there's a number of other areas. The EVD, electronic top-up for your mobile. There's a lot of different things we can offer people.
Very well. Now we understand that B Mobile recently launched a B Mobile banking service with Westpac. How do you see this service? How will it assist the community itself?
Yeah, we've got we're involved with all of the major banks here in PNG, and people can top up their mobile through an ATM. And the latest one was Westpac. We went live with Westpac. We are involved in other areas as well. We're looking at a mobile money product where someone can transfer money to friends or family. We've just gone through an extensive exercise on that area, and we're looking probably to roll that out both here and in the Solomon Islands within our sister company over there as well. And so I think financial services and ease of access to money is very important here in PNG. People don't want to be carrying cash around with them. So if you can access money through an ATM, if you can top up your mobile through an ATM, if you can transfer money to a friend by using your mobile phone, and even when we go live with 3G, if you can actually go online, check your bank balance and transfer some money through your mobile phone to maybe your daughter's, your son's or a friend's account. All things that we should be looking to roll out nationally by using our network.
Okay, and do you have any plans to educate people on how to do this, like with the banking activity that you have rolled out with Westpac? Do you have any? Because I'm sure the rural people might really want to know how it's done.
Yeah.
So do you have any plans?
It's a very good point, actually. We actually had a consultant come in who's worked for the World Bank. We decided that if we were going to roll out with mobile money, we wanted to do this properly. And we had an extensive study. This gentleman has worked within Africa, he's worked in developing markets, and he worked very closely with our marketing team. And we've come up with some fairly good ideas on how exactly the point you've just raised,
yes,
we can educate the public to maximise the use of this particular product. So we'll be taking that on board, and when we roll out with our network, we'll be offering these initiatives as well.
Well, thank you very much for your time on the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure being here.
Coming up in the show, we hear how the Asian Development Bank is contributing to the country's development. Stay tuned. Papua New Guinea joined ADB in 1971. In August 2010, ADB and the government of Papua New Guinea agreed on a new country partnership strategy 2011 to 2015. The strategy was developed in close consultation with the government and other stakeholders and is well aligned to the government's development strategy plan 2010 to 2030 and the medium-term development plan, which is 2011 to 2015. Here is Dr. Charles Andrew, the Country Director of Asian Development Bank.
Hello, Mr. Andrews. Thank you for joining us on Resource PNG.
You're welcome, Antonia.
Please tell us, what is ADB's role in PNG's resource sector?
That's changed over the years. You'll recall that some years ago there was the idea of piping gas from the highlands down to Australia. That project didn't proceed, but the ADB offered the government to help with putting that transaction together, including doing the environmental management aspects of it. And with the new LNG project, the PNG LNG project led by ExxonMobil, we were talking to the government a few years ago about perhaps helping the government to finance their equity participation, but the government found its money through other sources. So we sort of helped advise on contract transaction details, but no, it turned out that there was no sort of direct financial or technical assistance. So now we're at a stage where our support to the resource sector is more indirectly helping the government to improve its economic infrastructure. And that has a natural flow through to the resources sector. For instance, we've been working with the government to help rehabilitate the Highlands Highway, which naturally is used by the gold and copper and the LNG project. And then the Lae Port project, the government has plans to expand Lae Port by almost doubling the size of it. That's a $200 million project which the ADB will principally finance. So it's in this area of economic infrastructure, roads and bridges, ports and also airports.
Oh, fantastic. What challenges and opportunities do you see in the country's resource development boom? I
prefer not to focus on challenges, but yes, there are challenges, but the point to be made initially is that it's just got fantastic opportunities. There are challenges in any country's resource sector. And there are challenges that are of a macro level that are hard to do anything about, that are sort of not really of the resource sector's making itself, but are just there because of the macroeconomic sort of circumstances that affect the place. And for instance, here in PNG, it just happens to be a high-cost economy. And that high cost flows through to the cost of developing these resources. So, the high cost of developing these resources will continue to be a challenge. The other sorts of challenges is, just the fact that there are significant supply side constraints across the economy. You know, the port, Lae Port I mentioned before, it's over full with the loads that are coming through there. So that slows down the construction of projects. You have other supply side constraints right through the economy, and that's actually related also to the high cost of the economy.
How can ADB assist in overcoming these challenges that you mentioned?
Yeah, well, the supply side constraints is really what we're tackling. You know, this trying to increase the capacity of the economic infrastructure, especially increasing connectivity. You know, so that it's possible to get the goods up to the mines and the other resource centres and get the produce down and through the ports and so forth. So I think that's where we're mainly helping. But you know, there are other sort of neat things that we're doing too. Like there's a project that the ADB's been involved in called it's an HIV and AIDS prevention and control project. And whereas the government sort of has taken the lead in that area, you know, in some places successfully, other places not so successfully, we entered into an arrangement with the Department of Health and with several large miners and like Oil Search, for instance, and Barrick Mines. You know, these are large resource companies which have a corporate responsibility not only to their workforce but also to the communities around them. So you know, they have an economic and a social imprint, a footprint on the area around them, and they've sort of risen to the challenge, which has been supported by us, whereby we say, look, you know, you do occupational health and safety work inside the fence. How about expanding those services to the communities outside the fence and focus on HIV and AIDS and also on malaria and TB? And they've done that, and the alliance, the partnership between the public and the private sector has worked very well.
Ah, it's good to hear.
Yeah.
Mr. Andrews, in August 2010, the ADB and the PNG government agreed on a new country partnership strategy 2011 to 2015. Can you elaborate more on this and its conversion of natural resources wealth into inclusive economic growth? Yeah,
so the ADB is a big player in PNG development. We have an existing active portfolio that's valued at $800 million. You know, $800 million, that's a lot of money. Now, most of that will go into or is committed to infrastructure projects. So the country partnership strategy it maintains that focus on financing large-scale economic infrastructure. For instance, the Lae Port Development Project will be putting in $190 million into that. You know, us, ADB, $190 million committed. So, and the CPS, the country partnership strategy, sort of tends to, you know, it continues that focus. But also there is this other work in health, for instance. We're going to help the government roll out a portion of its national health strategy in rural areas. You know, how does it help the government convert the resource wealth into better lives for ordinary Papua New Guineans? This is the tremendous challenge, of course, and the government of PNG is in a position which a lot of other countries in sort of resource-rich countries, it's quite different, because the rest of the economy in PNG, the formal economy, is relatively small. The ordinary Papua New Guineans rely a lot on the resource sector. Now, unless the government plays a very active and successful role in sort of transitioning those resource-based benefits through to ordinary Papua New Guineans, then they won't get those benefits. So the government has a really important role to play.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you so much, Mr. Andrews, for joining us on the show.
My pleasure, Antonia.
So far, we have heard what B-Mobile and the Asian Development Bank is contributing with regard to this country's development. We'll take a quick break from here, but don't go away, because in the next segment, we speak to the Korean ambassador. The Republic of Korea and Papua New Guinea established diplomatic ties in 1976 and have since then steadily developed close relationships of friendship and cooperation in various fields, including economy and trade, as well as development and fisheries. Joining Antonia tonight is the Korean ambassador, His Excellency Wei Jin Lee.
Hello, Your Excellency. Thank you for joining us on Resource PNG. Can you tell us your views on PNG's resource sector with specific regard to the oil, mining and gas industries?
It's an honor to be here for an interview. Papua New Guinea is known to Korean people and Korean society as a country with lots of natural resources, and especially nowadays natural gas. And also I know that this country has oil and other natural resources such as copper, gold and silver, etc. Especially Korea has relations with Papua New Guinea in terms of we are importing copper and timber, copper especially. The trade value between Korea and Papua New Guinea is not very much, modest level, but mainly we are importing copper, and other areas, of course, we are importing some timber and Arabica coffee. Copper is quite important natural resources for us to import. And also nowadays, of course, Papua New Guinea is attracting attention from around the world with regard to LNG development side.
Okay, having said that, do you see potential for more Korean investors investing in the PNG LNG project?
At the moment, actually, a Korean company, big Korean company called Daewoo Construction, an engineering company, is working on the construction of LNG trains, which is two LNG trains which are producing about 3 million annually. Two LNG project value of which is about $300 million US, and it is just carrying out as a subcontractor under other companies, and it is carrying out as a subcontractor, and because the project has started from last year, and at the end of next year it will be finished. And other than that, Korean Gas Corporation, which is national company, is talking about import of natural gas from the second, which is Gulf LNG development project, in return for some equity in the upstream development project, and therefore Korean National Corporation, which is in other words KOGAS.
Ambassador, can you tell us a bit more about bilateral relations between Korea and Papua New Guinea?
I think Papua New Guinea is very important because this is the biggest country in South Pacific, and as I told you just now, we are importing some natural gases like copper, which is very important in our industry development. And Papua New Guinea is also one of the 14 Pacific Island state countries which is in the lead among the Polynesian and the Melanesian country groups, and also the Papua New Guinea has big economic waters which has lots of fishery. So we have deep sea fishing interest in this area. So we have 30 or so fishing vessels catching tuna especially in this area. And in the future, some Korean companies are also making investment for the construction of tuna processing factory. One of the biggest Korean fishing company has almost bought land in Leh to construct tuna fishing.
Ambassador, apart from the oil, mining and gas sector and the fishing industry, as you just mentioned, what other industries do you see the Korean government contributing to?
Up till now, with regard to PNG, based upon technical cooperation arrangement, we have been inviting Papua New Guinea's government officials for short-term training program in lots of areas such as environment, agriculture, medium and small-sized business, and the auditing, administration, lots of areas. And one thing I'd like to mention about is the construction of health centers in two areas, one in Rigo, the other one in Daulo in Eastern Highlands, and it's just started. It's a 3-year program, which is valued at about $5.5 million US. So once we selected contractors, then we'll start build the health centers, and in a few years it will be completed, and we will bring some Korean nursing staff to run and manage these health centers. I think in that way we can make some contribution to Papua New Guinea society. Also, at the civil level, the quite well known is Caritas Technical School, which has been run by Korean Catholic sisters. There are 8 Korean Catholic sisters, and they not just run technical school, they also do some community works, healthcare and helping the needy people in the neighborhood as well.
Well, that's a lot of assistance from the Korean government that strengthens bilateral relations between the two countries. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's been a pleasure having you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Still to come on the show, the PNG High Commissioner to New Delhi, India, World Vision, and we hear about the investments made possible by MRDC in Tabubil. The Papua New Guinea High Commissioner in New Delhi is one of the 22 Papua New Guinean diplomatic and consular representatives abroad. Tonight we have the privilege to grasp information about His Excellency Tassius Eri's diplomatic role in New Delhi.
We know that India's need for energy security is much more, and I am talking to the Indian oil and gas majors to look to Papua New Guinea as an investment destination. I think that we can do a lot. You have the technology, you have the expertise that you have developed over the years, and if you can look at Papua New Guinea as an investment destination, I think it will do a lot of good for the two countries. Since I have been here, I've been vigorously talking to Indian companies, especially the big ones. Reliance, I've spoken to the executive of Cairns India. I have spoken to ESA Group, the Jaguar, and they are quite willing to assist. We have LNG, and the one that which will come on stream in 2014. The production will start in 2014. This is the one that is being developed now by ExxonMobil. We also have new gas fields, LNG gas fields, which are yet to develop, and hopefully that Indian companies will also get in to Papua New Guinea and exploit this. The ESA group is in Papua New Guinea right now. They are now assisting the ExxonMobil to develop the LNG gas resource in Papua New Guinea, and they have won a contract to build an airport in Southern Highlands, which they've been been undertaking for quite some time now, and they are there in a big way and assisting ExxonMobil. Yes, the gas fields that have been discovered are onshore. In fact, they are in the middle of the island, and at the moment ExxonMobil is trying to pipe this gas to Port Moresby, which is quite a distance. And again, we would encourage Indian companies to also look at investing in Papua New Guinea. In fact, there is a gold mine that has been developed by Barrick Gold of Canada in one of the islands, and it's also quite a big one. And there are also gold mines which are being been gold mines which are yet to come on stream throughout the country. And again, I would encourage Indian companies to also look at investing in these mines. Like I said, I've been talking to the Indian oil and gas majors, for instance, GAIL, ONGC, Petronet. These companies have had experiences and have developed the capacity to develop these resources. They have been expressing keen interest to get involved, and in fact they have sent their geologists to Papua New Guinea. They are experts to Papua New Guinea to see what is there. We have a government-owned company called Petromin, and Petromin controls the government interests in any mining or energy projects in Papua New Guinea, and they can assist any company that is interested, for instance, from India. I have spoken to the officials in the Unique Identification Authority of India, and they have come up very positively. And right now there are two officials, senior officials from the authority, Indian authority in Papua New Guinea, to brief the Prime Minister and his cabinet, and of course senior officials, to initiate discussions on how they can assist Papua New Guinea with this project. The Prime Minister is also keen to engage India to use the electronic voting machines that you have been using in your elections. There is huge scope for cooperation, and I'm hoping that our two governments will maybe get involved much more mutually to cement and enhance our bilateral ties.
Stay tuned as we head out for a short break and be right back with more on Resource PNG. World Vision entered Papua New Guinea in 1974. In 1983, a country office was established in Medan, managing about 48 development projects. Let's hear more about the latest from Dr. Kat Bokuslowski of World Vision PNG.
Hello, Kurt. It's a pleasure to have you on Resource PNG.
Thank you very much for having me.
To start off, for the benefit of our viewers, can you tell us a bit more about World Vision?
Sure, certainly. World Vision is an organization which is now more than 60 years old. It started as a missionary organization in Korea. Currently we're working in almost 100 countries and with a workforce of 40,000 staff. About 20,000 volunteers worldwide. And in PNG we're here already since 30 years now, working as a relief and development organization.
World Vision is, as you said, dedicated to working with children, families and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. In your professional view, with the resource boom expected to bring high economic growth to PNG, do you think this development will help alleviate poverty and injustice to some degree and improve living standards for Papua New Guineans so that avenues such as crimes aren't a means to survive?
These changes don't come about very easy, and that's one of the reasons why organizations like World Vision are working here, trying to resolve some of the problems. Of course, no one organization can change the environment, change to make the situation better, and we're really dependent on all working together to improve the situation. Now, an economic boost like PNG is seeing at the moment is always brings along always some problems, but also has a lot of opportunities at stake. So World Vision is certainly gearing up to also work together with the resource companies, but as we do in other places in the world, we are certainly very interested to leverage where we can to help in health, in education, in environment, but also in disaster risk reduction.
Tell us a bit more about your views on the resource sector in PNG and ways that you suggest that organizations involved can collaborate in order to address issues of development in PNG.
Yeah, I personally think it's a real blessing for the country that you have resource companies who are coming and offering opportunities to PNG. There's a lot you can do with the money which is generated with it, but my personal view is that a better collaboration needs to happen. I think resource companies need to focus on what is the social impact we can achieve and where's the need, rather than just ticking boxes, we've done something. Just also ask some of the development practitioners who've already been operating in PNG for a long time where the issues are, where the need is, and to do so is very, very convenient if the resource sector has a special organizational a foundation to work with, rather than to work with the big bodies of the commercial sector of the resource companies.
In times of crisis, World Vision responds to natural and man-made disasters. Given the recent landslide in the Hides area and the sea disaster just off the coast of Finschhafen, where has World Vision assisted in this?
Yeah, I think it's very important to point out that World Vision is a relief organization as well as a development organization. Our mandate to assist and to help is really dependent on the PNG government calling for help on one end. The other thing I think we are concentrating on very well is disaster preparedness. We need to make sure that communities are resilient and are prepared for disasters, so that if a disaster strikes, as we've seen in the recent days, the recovery time is lessened.
You mentioned earlier that no one organization can change the environment. It takes a collective effort. In that regard, how can the resource sector, such as oil, mining and gas industries, assist the work of World Vision and other NGOs alike to create positive social impact?
I think that's one of the key prospects of this country. One side is the economic development. I may use the word exploitation of resources, and the other thing is what will come back to the communities, what will come back to really ensure a good development of the nation as such. And that's where I think we need to be working all together, hand in hand. It starts with sharing information. It continues with calling upon others who have the expertise, for example, in health, in education, in disaster risk reduction.
That's a very excellent solution to the current pressing challenge PNG faces. Thank you so much, Kurt, for joining us on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you.
You're welcome very much. Thank you for having me.
And that was Dr. Kat of World Vision. After the break, we hear about the investments made possible by MRDC in Tabubil, so stay tuned. Coming all the way from Star Mountains, Tabubil, we find out how MRDC is helping the landowners manage their dividends.
From the oil pipeline passing through Kipuri in Gulf Province, the oil fields of Gobe and Moro in Southern Highlands Province, right down to the copper mines of Oktedi, Western Province, this rich vastness of natural resources is truly what makes PNG a unique country and a furnace for economic boom. However, more so, it is the people of these resource-rich masses of land that count the most. The landowners and communities through which mining and petroleum developments take place. MIDC, a 100% state-owned company, established under an Act of Parliament to manage provincial government and landowner interests in the mining and petroleum industry, manages 7 subsidiary landowner groups. The PNG LNG will add another 4 subsidiaries, eventually bringing the total to 11 subsidiary landowner groups. As part of its vision and aim, MIDC strives to make each landowner company self-sufficient and economically sustained, as the Managing Director Augustine Mano explains.
Create more wealth and grow for the landowners and provincial government. At the same time, to balancing it by improving the quality of life for our main beneficiaries. Mostly they are located in some of the most isolated and rural areas in Papua New Guinea. It's a very tough challenge, knowing very well the expectation and the cultural complexities surrounding our beneficiaries. But the way we are going, I think we can achieve those visions.
Last week, Resource PNG featured one of the 2 royalty trust funds in Oktedi, Mineral Resources Star Mountains Limited. MRSM is just one of many examples of MIDC's commitment to managing as well as developing each subsidiary landowner group to a level where they are economically competitive as a company that generates profit from the business sector apart from dividend payments.
Mineral Resources Star Mountain Limited has about 2.5% interest in Oktedi, and basically the beneficiaries are the landowners around Oktedi. It was set up about 12 years ago, and since 2006, from a net worth of about less than 100 million, it has gone to more than 250 million as of 2011. And one of the challenges is that trying to give benefits to our beneficiaries. So since 2008, we've been paying regular dividends. We've started with 4 million in 2008, and it has increased to 10 million. And since then, we've been paying dividends along that figure. And also the difficult things that we have is now, after 2011, is trying to find a balance on making them more independent. And since 2008, we have invested in companies like you have Fibulun Catering Services, which provided all the catering in the project. We've also invested in Tabubil Engineering, and now the company's grown from just 200 employees. It's gone to more than 700, and it is growing very fast. Now they have most of the major contracts in Oktedi, and the management in Oktedi have a lot of confidence in them, and the interesting thing is they are branching out. So operationally, they're doing very well, and the future looks better. And for me, the legacy of the landowners is having building the capacity for companies like this, and they can be independently managed and expand to rest of Papua New Guinea.
MIDC is confident MRSM is economically secure to continue until after the closure of Oktedi mine. Investing as an operating company, MRSM is independent outside MIDC and has competent management and business growth, and is expanding outside of Oktedi. MIDC aims to establish the same economic independence for other subsidiary landowner groups.
Our investments in MRSM that we are growing, to date, it is the income that we receive is almost more than 3 million every year. That's outside of the Oktedi dividend. So over the next 4 or 5 years, we're confident in increasing that. And combination of that plus the other one where we have with the operating companies, I think the future is bright for them.
Apart from managing royalty interests of the landowners, MIDC is dedicated to assisting the landowner communities in further development.
By the MRDC Director, and it's been a
Well, some of the initiatives we've done is, one of them was, in terms of law and order, we've assisted by buying a Land Cruiser for them. That was last year. We also bought for the 10 villages which are affected by the mine, 10 generators for them so that they have backup power, and those that do not have power, they will have access to power. For this year, our focus is on education. Now, going to a couple of villages where the mine is impacted, despite, like last year, Octedi earning a revenue for the government for about 3 billion in taxes and other benefits. Where the mine is, it's sad to see that the education priorities are not there, and the education sector in terms of the schools are run down, and we've decided that we will build a couple of classrooms, and also we've talked to the management of Octedi, and we are forming a partnership, and this year our focus on education, and things will change. I think the most important thing after the mine sort of closes, what we leave behind are people, and these people need to be educated. And looking at not only in Octedi, but if you look around all the mining and petroleum projects, you see that there's not enough educated local people. Most of them, they go for employment, or because of the royalty equity mentality, they forgot about going to school. And this is one of the things that I'm trying to address, and hopefully this year with the partnership with Octedi, we should see some improvement on our investment in education in Octedi.
And this brings us to the end of our program on Resource PNG for tonight. Coming up next week, we have the following. Special segments with Mr. Ian Klein, CEO for BSP.
Through our natural resources. And one of the challenges we have as a country is actually many of these projects are still not delivered.
And a special feature with Mr. Paul Bakker from Institute of National Affairs.
Static. From independence in 1975, it was initially very much based upon agriculture.
That and more on your program next week. If you have any comments on the show, please email us resourcepng@mtv.com.pg. Until the same time next Thursday, good night and God bless.